Sometimes an ability to speak doesn't mean you can necessarily understand. Misinformation and misconceptions are a major challenge when it comes to culture clashes around the world. But a student organization at McMaster University is out to change all that, especially when it comes to our Indigenous people. AGN's Erin Alvarez shows us how.
It's not every day that you see an authentic powwow on a university campus, but this is a very special occasion. It's the McMaster First Nations Student Association's 20th anniversary. Rick Monteur, now the Director of Indigenous Studies at Mac, says he remembers how it all began.
When I first came here in the late 80s, there were somewhere between 3 and 5 First Nations people across campus, and we all sort of found each other kind of accidentally.
They became an official organization in the spring of 1989, and what started off small became wide with many more First Nations students and the support of the university. It was through that support that Rick and his peers were able to say,
"We are here, we have intellectual traditions that are every bit as worthy of study as everything else that is studied at university."
Hayden King, a professor of Indigenous Studies here at Mac, says that they've come a long way in 20 years and thinks that being able to offer courses about Indigenous peoples is an important step.
The politics, the history, the culture, the society of Indigenous peoples is kind of invisible to mainstream society.
Hayden says this program gives them the opportunity to teach everything from literature and science to midwifery and history from an Indigenous perspective.
That really allows for the ideas, the desires, the knowledge of Indigenous peoples to have a place on the university.
Not only is it important to learn the history, but the languages behind it. And a new initiative between Six Nations and McMaster University is hoping to bring 2 languages back that are currently near extinction.
From the beginnings of the program, languages were always targeted as one of our focus issues. At Six Nations, there are 6 languages spoken. We now are down to about 3 that are active on reserve, and 2 of those languages have less than 50 fluent speakers left in the world.
So thankfully, classes in these endangered languages, Mohawk and Cayuga, began this past September.
Learning your language and your culture is at the forefront of who we are as Indigenous people.
Hayden says he's glad to be a part of what he feels is necessary for Native students.
There's so many stereotypes and racism towards First Nation, Métis and Inuit peoples in Canada that when First Nation students start learning about their accomplishments, the accomplishments of their ancestors, the role they've played in the history of this country, then I think that instills a fair amount of pride in them, and it allows me to be proud of what I do.
Native students here agree that it helps to have professors who have Indigenous backgrounds too.
It's just a really good way for the non-Native community to realize that we are at university, we do have scholars and academics who are able to inform the greater community about the issues that affect us historically and even today.
Surprisingly, a large number of Hayden's students are non-Native, and he says he's glad they're there.
They really come away with the class with a different understanding of who their neighbors are, who their brothers and sisters, their Native brothers and sisters are.
Showcasing the program in the middle of campus doesn't hurt either.
And I think events like this draw out the crowd to let them know that we are here and that we're more than just the issues that still affect us today. Like, we are people, we have a culture, we have fun, we laugh, we dance, we sing, we feed you. I think it's phenomenal that we're working together to try and build these relationships and hope to successfully keep our languages alive and our culture.